Hi, I'm Kim from KMA Accountancy. I often get asked by clients about needing to get more sales, and this forms a discussion about whether we should increase prices or discount prices. And to be honest, most clients' prospects, that's what they think, they need to discount prices. Now, let's look at that in more detail because it is an interesting topic. And I'll be honest, it's not something that I'm particularly really fond of, but it does have its place. But word of warning, you do need to know your numbers. Clearly, discounting, reducing your prices, you do need to be very careful with this. Firstly, my first bit of advice to you would be to make sure you really understand the numbers of your business. So, where you are currently, what your gross profit is, your net profit, and what the costs are associated with turning out your service or product. I do worry with discounting because very often when you're slashing prices, it's a race to the bottom, which unless if you've got no brand, then it really isn't great for your business because it's quite hard then to get your prices back up again. So if you don't have any USPs, unique selling points, it's really difficult for you to differentiate. And if you're not careful, you get compared to, the next business like yours. For example, accountancy. Unless you've got something that sets you apart, then people will compare you on price because they've got nothing else to compare you on. So if you want to start discounting your prices, then yes, in essence, of course, you'll get more business and increase your turnover, but turnover is vanity. Cash flow is sanity and profit. And I've got a discounting guide here, and if your business has a gross profit margin percentage of 40%. So that means, in essence, that if whatever you produce, let's say you produce this table and it's £100 and it costs you £60 to produce, then your gross profit margin is 40%. So if you then reduce and discount your price down by just 10%, that means you've got to get 33% more sales just to stand still. Now, clearly, that's not necessarily great. I mean, if you suddenly need to get rid of a lot of old stock that's going to be obsolete, that's fine. You might want to discount the price, but if you're doing it as a strategy to get more customers, then clearly it's not the greatest strategy. Equally, you put a lot of pressure on your business. Because if you're going to suddenly ramp up your sales, then you've got to be able to produce your goods or service, in this instance, the table. Now, if you're manufacturing, you've got to have the manufacturing capability, you've got to have the staff. You might end up paying overtime to meet those orders. Equally, you may need to warehouse it, you may need extra warehousing. You haven't taken into account those increased costs. And one big thing that very often happens is people in a rush to get stuff out because they've oversold effectively by discounting the price. In the rush to get it out, they make mistakes in the manufacture or the delivery of that service. So therefore the quality isn't as good. And then again, people expect the same quality. So if your quality goes off, then you've potentially lost that customer forever, and then it becomes harder and harder. So whilst there are positives, clearly you're getting out more, you're raising awareness, you're perhaps getting to people that wouldn't ordinarily buy your product or service, it's not the greatest in terms of increasing your profit. There are other ways of doing that, and I'll cover that off at some other point. I hope that's been helpful and just given you something to think about in terms of discounting and some of the pros and cons of it. So that's me, Kim from KMA Accountancy.